Good evening, everyone. Welcome to March. It is, and is it International Women's Month? Or
There's
just
Women's Month and then International Women's Day. I think it's next Monday. I believe I'll look it up while we're talking.
Okay, but this is the month where we're celebrating women, and we have a slight female majority tonight. So happy Women's Month to everybody. We're going to move over to any public comments that we have at this time.
We do not have any public.
Awesome. Well, Councilor Tivnon, it's all you.
Okay, well, I never know where to begin because there's always so much happening. But I had a few things I'll glance stuff and go into more detail if you want it. Just working my way backward from last night to in the morning, we had our very first in-person / hybrid city council meeting ever since I joined the council. I've never sat in the same room with the councilors during the meeting. So we got to be in chambers. It was a hybrid setup, so the public and most people that were participating in the different agenda items were virtual. And it worked really, really well. They had a lot of time to think through this, the city recorder's office and the city manager, and they were really thoughtful in how to just set up the technology to set everyone up for success and make people that were virtual still feel included in the meeting, and for us to be able to talk and vote and interact with people on the screen with ease. And one thing that we learned virtually that works really well is putting our names into the chat to get into like a queue, and then the mayor can call on each counselor one at a time. It keeps crosstalk from happening, make sure everyone has a chance to speak. And I think it just kind of keeps things really balanced and rhythmic. I think it also adds a little bit of incentive for people to participate. And, so one voice isn't louder than the other. And we maintain that. They had little laptops by every single person's seat. And so if you wanted to speak, you typed your name into it, just like if we were still virtual. So we're planning on doing one meeting a month in the in-person hybrid model, and then the second meeting in a virtual format. At least for right now. We might transition over into fully in person at some point, but I think we're going to just continue to take it a little slow, and we're still going to continue to wear masks. That's out of respect for the mayor as well as Councilor Huston, who both have very, very young children who can't get vaccinated, and they just want to be extra cautious about it. And then also, I don't know if you know, but we've gone down from 4 meetings a month to 2 for the city council, and then 1 meeting that's solely dedicated to the Beaverton Urban Renewal Agency meetings talking about development in the downtown and Old Town areas. Okay, so then we also released our council priorities, which we adopted officially last night. I can put a link in here so you can see what those are. It's quite a huge list of things that have been in progress or are COVID related, or just things that we absolutely have to do. And 2 of those things that we talked about last night, one is the shelter site conversation, looking at preferred alternatives for where it makes most sense to site a shelter, which is totally dependent on the market because there's not a ton of stuff available right now. And we are not going to be building from scratch. We would be acquiring a building to keep costs down on that part. But this conversation was around what parts of town, industrial, commercial, residential, design code types of buildings, public involvement. Nothing has been decided yet, but it was definitely a work session for every councilor and the mayor to talk about their vantage point on it, their perspectives, and what they've been hearing from the community. So that's still an ongoing conversation. It's a brand new thing, not only for Beaverton, but all of Washington County, to talk about a shelter in terms of like a true low barrier shelter, not like some of the specialty ones that we have out here for youth or domestic violence victims. This would be, basically function like the severe weather shelter does, only on a year-round basis, and hopefully with more space, as well as on-site mental health support and health services. And then the other one is the facilities master plan, which sounds really sexy when you say it, and it is. It's awesome because baked in there is an assessment about community space. And we lost a community center when the public safety center was built. I don't know if any of you remember that, but that was a loss of space for residents to just gather. And then the community center itself, this predates me joining, but the decision was made that that would be the site for the senior affordable housing project, meaning that that community center will get raised and go away. And there's been no conversation about creating new community space. And other than the library, which has some small meeting spaces, we don't have any large format places after that. And so I think it's a really good opportunity, not only to think about what we could have, but also to weave in the conversation around a multicultural center into that as well. So very exciting. Just at the beginning of that, it's going to take almost 2 years to do, because it's a very in-depth study across everything that the city owns. And then last but not least, the research. The ribbon cutting was yesterday morning and was extremely moving, with a lot of people standing in the street, which is now open for people to drive down again in the rain, and very happy to be getting wet while we celebrated the building. And then eventually they cut the ribbon, everyone got to walk inside and just really soak it in. And it was quite a victorious moment for everyone who worked to get that building to exist. And it's just thinking about what's going to take place in there is really cool. The last thing I'll say on it is that International Women's Day is March 8th. And the very first performance at the Research is going to be an a cappella group from Zimbabwe. It's all female, called Nubuntu. And they're supposed to be absolutely amazing. They're flying over from Zimbabwe basically just for this, from what I understand. And it should be pretty spectacular, as well as so many other amazing events. And all the tickets are on sale now. The website's totally live. There's going to be children's programming, summer camps, all sorts of stuff. And it's just going to get better and better. So that's what I got. Thank you for letting me take some airtime for that. And if you have any questions, great. Otherwise, I'll start popping in some links into the chat, just in reference to some of the stuff that I mentioned.
Thank you so much, Councilor. Rachel, you have a question?
I do. I was curious about what drove the decision to go down from 4 to 2 council meetings.
You know, that is a really good question. I was actually really nervous about doing it, because when I first joined, some of our meetings were going like 5 hours, 5.5 hours. I think the longest one, we broke at almost midnight. And the agendas were so packed that it was really, really hard to get through everything. And we'd have city staff that wouldn't have a part until like hours into the agenda, that would just have to be sitting there waiting. And once the city manager got in, she has done a lot of good things around efficiencies, really being thoughtful about crafting the agendas, shortening the time slots for discussion on things, just to keep some guardrails around us so they don't spin out into just, you know, saying the same thing over and over again, or going back and forth. And I think part of this was to get way more intentional with the ways that we're using the meetings, and also not taking things off the table to talk about, but like clumping all work session stuff into one of the meetings, and then using the other meeting during the month to go through more of the line item stuff. We're trying it out. If it ends up making them even longer, which was my fear, we might go back to having 4 a month. But I think there was also just a sense that there were so many meetings. It's really rare for a city to have a weekly meeting. Some city councils only meet once a month, in some other places around the West Coast. And so she's just trying it out. We'll see how it goes. Last night was quick, but too quick is also a little concerning too. So yeah, good question though.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Amy, and then we're going to move.
Oh, I just had a quick question. Did you think that perhaps there are less items that the council is going to be looking at and making decisions on due to the change in format?
There's some of the more of the, like getting into the weeds of the day-to-day operations of the city that we don't need to weigh in on as heavily. I think with the transition in government, the council and the mayor, especially in the past form, really had control over everything in some ways. And that's not always great, especially in an organization that has hundreds of employees and all the interrelationships that we don't know about because we don't work on a day-to-day basis with them. So a lot of this is delegating to the city manager, and also just in her job description that she manages a lot of the day-to-day personnel interactions and things like that. And that leads us really to focus on policy and addressing things that are related to what we got elected for.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention though that back a billion years ago, 2 years ago, when I was on the Diversity Advisory Board, we had many conversations about the Research Center being serving double duty as a community center where small performance groups could be playing throughout the week and during the day. So it's I'm very encouraged to hear that the conversation about the community center is coming back up.
Yes, and I think there's a lot that wasn't like a kitchen that had been talked about at one point to have installed, and the original mock-ups of the research changed over time just to meet the budget. But I do know that they have the lab that's upstairs. It'll be small format performances. And I think Chris Azukian, who's the ED there, is really excited about having conversations with everybody in the community, including Deb and others, to think through the programming that can happen just throughout the year and also throughout the day too. And one thing that's really cool is it's open to the public during the day. You can just go inside and get out of the rain, go see the art. So it's really meant to just be a home for people in a lot of ways to feel welcome.
Rachel?
I just want to make sure Christina got her question because I saw her getting her hand up.
I had a question about the council meetings. Back in the day when I was reporting and they were 4 times a month on every Monday, there were a lot more public hearings, it felt like, because they were making decisions about developments going in. And there were a lot of people that would come in and testify during those public hearings, especially if they were things that were happening in the neighborhoods. And so if there's something on the agenda, and there were sometimes that they had to carry over public hearings because they would go until midnight and then they're like, okay, we're gonna have to carry this to next week before they could make their decision on, say, a development proposal that was before the council. And so when you have big projects like that are going to be on the agenda, do you have the wiggle room, the flexibility to then have another set special meetings for those? Because that was the one thing that there was actually a lot of, in the early 2000s, there was a lot of engagement at the city council meetings.
Yeah, and I, even before the shutdown happened, I was attending pretty regularly when I was running, and there was always a decent amount of people that would show up, and we saw the numbers dwindle a little when we went virtual, but we do have the wiggle room. We do have that extra time in the month, so we can always use it if needed. There's no rigidity at all about this. I think it's just trying to dial it in a little bit, and just, we'll iterate as we need to.
Good.
Thank you. Next, we have Shannon with Steph Liaison updates.
All right. So back to the Patricia Research Center for the Arts on Saturday, March 13th. There is a community welcoming event that is open to all, and there will be various activities throughout the day. The Research will post the schedule on their website soon. Things are going to kick off at 10 a.m. and you can just pop by whenever you want and something will be going on and you'll be able to take a look at the building and be involved in some really cool events and activities. So you should go to that. And I have got it so that we are now handing out the survey postcard at the event. So we're putting them in, we're putting 300 of them into the swag bags that are going out. So they will go out in the swag bags that the arts team is giving away. So they will be going there. The city is now offering expanded in-person services across all facilities. They are going to continue with the virtual services, and so it's more of kind of a hybrid situation. Some things have changed a little bit. You may be asked to make an appointment for different things because we aren't fully staffed all the time like we used to be. We're kind of rolling back into that gently. But we are coming back in person, and so the transition is happening and well underway. The State of the City is March 29th. That is going to be fully virtual. They're making a really cool movie, and it will be posted on the State of the City website, the Beaverton State of the City website, and it will premiere there at noon on the 29th. So you should check that out. And I just spoke with Jen, and she's going to add a plug for the VAC survey into the mayor's address. And I'm going to put the survey link on the State of the City website too. So people will be encouraged to take the link or take the survey after they've finished watching the State of the City, which will be interesting to see how that influences things, but it'd be cool. So we've got that all going on too. That's basically all I have. Councilor Tivnon did most of the other stuff and much better than having me read it. So thank you.
I thank you. And I forgot there was one other thing I'm going to put into the chat is Bureau got a update on the downtown equity strategy in the form of a PowerPoint. It's live on the website, but I'll put it in the location of it so you can find it easily. It has some really interesting data in it that was derived from some extensive outreach to folks that live in the downtown area along Allen that are most at risk of displacement with all of the development and improvements and revitalization, all that great stuff that tends to cause gentrification. And the stats in it are very helpful to see and read, and they could even be helpful for this group and inform the conversations that are happening here. So I'll put that in the chat too.
Thank you so much. I feel like we're having a movie premiere when Shannon said the State of the City is premiering on.
It is a movie premiere. It's an actual movie. There's videographers, a filming schedule. It's a whole big thing. There's makeup. Yeah, it's a deal.
That's amazing. Next, we are needing to look at last month's meeting minutes. I'll give you a couple minutes to review, and then we can ask for edits and approval.
Did I actually send out the meeting minutes? I'm not sure if I attached them. I think I just posted. Okay, I will send those to you. Sorry about that.
Well, that's how you know if we're paying attention, because
Yeah.
if someone actually said, I motion to approve.
True. I was seeing the blank stares though, and I was like, oh, wait a minute, maybe I didn't attach that. Sorry about that.
I was like frantically like, oh no, where did I put it in my email? Because I've definitely been guilty of getting minutes and just not finding them later.
You can go ahead, I'll send them and we can do them. If anybody has any like things they want to change, you can email it. We'll do that and we can approve them next time.
So I have another meeting that I need to attend. I'm going to hand it over to Amy to facilitate the rest of the evening, but right now I'm going to hand it over, I believe, to Nathan to talk about outreach planning. And I'm going to see you all. Have a great rest of your week.
See you, Cynthia.
Hey, I think that the handoff already happened, but I was in the other room just getting a glass of water. So Nathan, take it away.
Sure thing. So are we good on minutes then? What was the agreement there? We were gonna. Do we need to approve those still?
We're
We'll
going
do it
to do
next
those
meeting.
next time.
Next meeting. Okay. All right. All right. Well, I will share my screen then. All right. So February was a very, very busy month. We had a lot happen, and it was also a short month, which means a lot of things were crammed into a shorter amount of time. But I think you all will be excited about what we have moving forward and what we're able to launch into come March and April. Big updates. We've finalized the survey. We sent it back past a ton of consultants and across city staff, past you guys, past city committees. And what we came up with last time, I think last time we had a nice 16 question survey, and basically nothing it hasn't changed that much. We added and we gave it to some consultants who said this is going to take 45 minutes for anyone to complete because it was all pretty much qualitative questions. And so we're like, okay, what can we do for that? They suggested we add some multiple choice responses as well as allowing for additional input within every question. So basically it's a little bit of a choose your own adventure, but we found that people can take it in about 10 minutes now if they want to do it in a fully multiple choice way. Otherwise they can sit down and they can write as long as they'd like for each of the questions, but questions are about the same. We've got a survey. We're excited about that. Other exciting thing, this is taking a little bit longer, but we are getting postcards and handouts created right now that kind of look like this. There are going to be some postcards as well and A-frames that we're going to be able to use at events. But most has basically everything that we had talked about, what we wanted to get in there in terms of having the community vision very forward, having a QR code with contact info for folks to be able to learn more about the vision, opportunities to talk a little bit more about what people want to see, as well as what past visions have brought. And so what is going to be changing? We're going to be printing out just full English versions of these, but this week, because we don't have translation back yet, but coming next week, we should have ones that have both English and Spanish on them, as well as ones that have are exclusively in, I believe, Russian, Vietnamese, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Arabic, and Spanish. So we should have those by the end of next week that we'll be able to do. But by the end of this week, we will have paper versions of the English version at least. And so we'll be able to use those for both the Reeser grand opening as well as for the voters forum pamphlet that's going to be going out shortly. So that's going to be going out en masse. So that's very exciting news. Just to kind of get everyone kind of up to speed as to what the strategy is going to be looking over these next couple months. I hope this isn't too hard to read here. But in March, we're hoping to just go ahead and start doing outreach. Friday is our launch date. We're going to be launching it through the city. The website will be changed. Our links will be live. And we are going to be reaching out to some of our partners to be able to distribute surveys, as well as leaning on you all to be able to help distribute some of those surveys. We are also on our website, we will have a link if people want to schedule one-on-one interviews. They can do phone interviews with the city and take 30-minute segments where they can just kind of talk about what they would like to see in the city and what their vision for the city is. And those will be going on throughout March through May. Additionally, the Chamber of Commerce has agreed to place flyers in businesses for us. They have a team of people who will just go into businesses and help put up flyers from place to place. And so we're excited for that partnership. Once we get into April, and I mean, some of this will be happening in March as well, but primarily in April and May, there's going to be more opportunities for in-person outreach. We've already scheduled some opportunities for myself or VAC members to be able to present at various city committees and some of our partners committees. And we've also found opportunities to participate in the farmers market, some city events. There's some events that the Beaverton Downtown Association is going to be putting on where we're going to be able to actually table and be in person and talk to folks. And we'll talk a little bit more later about like where else we would like to see stuff done. But initially we've got that at least. Our consultant Ping, our wonderful consultant Ping, has been contracted and has been bringing together her liaisons to be able to start doing focus groups. She also is going to be starting doing culturally specific outreach in March, and ideally conducting focus groups in April and May. I'll kind of go through what all of the groups she's going to be approaching and the focus group she wants to be hosting here shortly. And additionally, the city may be conducting some additional focus groups beyond what Ping is doing, just because Ping is mostly doing a lot of language specific focus groups, but the city will be doing some additional focus groups on top of that. So looking at the focus groups, please let me know if you have any questions. Yeah. This is the survey that has been finalized. Let's see. Yeah, so the link that Rachel just sent, this is the survey that's been finalized. The only thing that will change is that the first thing when you click, there will be language options at the start. So it will not be this screen in a couple days. It will be a screen that lets you get to one of 7 different languages.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep. And so looking at focus groups, Ping is going to be holding focus groups in Spanish, Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese, a Arabic one, as well as a Russian one. And then she's also hoping to hold 2 additional focus groups that are targeting some of these communities on the right-hand column, but those focus groups will be in English. It's going to be more general outreach there, but for the ones on the left-hand column, we have identified a number of organizations the city has commonly worked with that her liaisons can go out and do outreach with, targeting probably about 8 to 12 people per focus group. And then additionally, I believe she's supposed to be getting 20 to 30 surveys per community that is represented there. And you know, that's a minimum number. So if it goes beyond that, then that's just gravy. So on top of that, the city,
what's inside?
We've been doing, hey, Roz, can you mute for a second?
Sorry, what?
Would you mind muting? Thanks. We have been doing outreach with some groups as well to be able to see what other focus groups we might be able to do. We talked to Home Plate, and Home Plate said that they would love to be able to help host a focus group amongst, Home Plate is an organization that does work with homeless youths in Washington County, for those that are unfamiliar. And they said they would be willing to host a focus group in May. They have they're moving to a new location apparently in April, but they would be happy to have us in May to be able to do some kind of focus group. The Chamber of Commerce also had expressed interest in doing some kind of business owner focus group. I'm less excited about that one as I am the Home Plate one, but it still could be a good opportunity to be able to at least showcase that the vision's going on and get some involvement from business owners. We also are reaching out currently to a couple other groups. We've got, let's see, the West Side Queer Resource Center to be able to potentially do an LGBTQ focus group. And then I forget what the name of the committee is, but there's a people with disability focus group that we're approaching to be able to see if we can arrange something along those lines. Along those lines, I'd be interested to hear your input as well. We only have so much opportunities to be able to do focus groups. Potentially, I think like a youth or a senior focus group may be in the cards as well. But if there's any other group that you think is particularly of import, please let us know and we can try to figure out ways to schedule those. So there are some community organizations that we've been doing a lot of outreach with community organizations to be able to make sure that we can either present to them, that they would be willing to help distribute our survey or whatnot. There are some that we are completely going to be leaving to ping, unless on a case-by-case basis, if you have a personal connection with some of these and it makes more sense for you to be the one to approach. I think we want to be able to make sure that we have everything going through, and with these groups, we don't want to be hitting them more than once and over asking them. So these are a lot of the cultural groups that we have connections with, that we are going to be providing our contacts to our consultant to be able to arrange focus groups and arrange distributions of surveys. So yeah, we've got the Korean Society of Oregon, Muslim Educational Trust, ARCO, IRIS. You can kind of look through this list. I'll send this to you all later, but we'll talk a little bit more about how we want to approach organizations over the coming months. Currently, the city has reached out to all of these organizations additionally. So we mentioned Home Plate, we mentioned the Chamber of Commerce. You can kind of look across these. THPRD has agreed to be able to distribute some of our flyers across city parks, which is exciting. We have something burgeoning with the school district. Hopefully we're going to be, that represents thousands of kids and thousands of families. And so we're looking at being able to distribute at least the survey link via the school district, but I'll keep you posted on what ends up being the actual strategy there. We'll have VAC represented in this focus group. That is a wonderful question, Christina. Yes. So one thing that I should say, going back to Ping's focus groups as well as the city's focus groups, is that Ping has requested, at the very least, the city have some kind of presence there, but would also be interested if there would be a VAC attendee, then you're more than welcome to join. Some of them may not be as interesting for you because they'll be in a foreign language, but we do want to have at least someone from our group to be able to be there to be able to answer any questions that the focus groups might have. And then for the actual city focus groups that we'll be trying to host in May, we will definitely be asking for your participation in that in one way or another. So once we get a little bit closer to May, we'll kind of start figuring out who's doing that, what the roles will be. But we definitely want to be able to make sure the VAC has some level of participation in that. Yeah, back to this. These are some of the groups that we're hoping to work with, either through, they have events that we are going to be trying to participate in. They have ways that we're going to be able to distribute the survey via email or via in-person outreach. Or we are actually going to be trying to host some kind of focus group with their target community. And so we're excited to be able to get those moving. Okay. And then, sorry to keep giving you slides with just lots of text, but this is kind of how this is going. There are other committees and boards that we have had contact with in the past that would also like to have us come back in to be able to talk to them and try to see how we can get them involved in one way or another. Most of these are directly a part of the city or are tangentially related to the city and the city's work. But we have scheduled meetings that we'd like to have a VAC attendee at in one way or another. I know the Arts Commission one on March 9th is coming up very quickly. So if we don't have anyone on that, that might be challenging, but or the role might be a little bit reduced when it comes to the Arts Commission. But these are the groups that we would like to have people actually present and kind of talk a little bit about the vision and how folks can get involved. So a lot of folks are excited. When I reached out to a lot of these organizations, they were excited to be able to be involved and they're excited to be asked, and they want to just be able to kind of provide their input on what the city's vision will be. Additionally, we are doing a lot of outreach via the city's marketing team to market the vision to across the city. And so these are just a few of those media sources that we're also reaching out to. We're going to have basically like an ad on TVCTV, which is great. We've heard from a lot of our consultants that TVCTV is since it's a free channel, it's very good for getting people who are in their homes or are seniors or people with disabilities. A lot of folks watch that. We're going to also be getting it out via a lot of the sources that you may be familiar with, more traditional sources like Beaverton Valley Times and Beaverton Resource Guide. But a lot of exciting things, a lot of places that we can get the word out about the work that we're doing. And then on top of that, we have some events targeted. The big one that these are the lifts that we'll need help with, where we're hoping to do tabling at least a good portion of these events. Some of these, we'll have to figure out what the role will be specifically. But the farmers market is going to be happening every Saturday, basically throughout the entire vision. And so any Saturday that we can get 2 people there to participate. Oh, Shannon is telling me that Bike Beaverton is actually May 22nd. I'll correct that. I will also correct the volunteer fair. But any days that we can get 2 people to participate for tabling at the farmers market, then we will be doing some kind of tabling at the farmers market. We'll talk a little bit today about what we would like that to look like. Shannon already mentioned for the Reeser grand opening, we won't actually have to have people there. We just need to be providing some handouts, which and some postcards to be able to go to folks. And by then we should have both English and Spanish handouts to be able to go into bags. So that's exciting. That's 300 handouts that we'll be able to get across the community. And then downtown Beaverton, the Beaverton Downtown Association has a couple of events that they are going to be doing in April and May, and they have already requested that we be there, or that they said that we would be able to table there as well, which is exciting. So that includes the downtown bubble tea walk, and there's a Beaverton wine walk for downtown that we would be able to have some level of participation. So a lot of cool things coming down the pipe, but that is kind of the overview of where we stand for our strategies moving into March and April. But I just want to kind of give a little bit of room if anyone had any thoughts or questions.
This is just really exciting. I don't have any other comments, but this is really awesome.
I'm curious about, Roz, raise your hand first.
So as far as the postcards go, if we volunteer for organizations like I volunteer for Store to Door, they have 300 clients.
Mhm.
If they agree, I could probably get them to take postcards that we can actually put into the groceries that are being delivered, because these go to seniors that don't drive, they're on limited incomes, they're not living with family, a lot of them are alone, but they're very aware of what's going on. They want to be aware of what's going on. So if they agree to that, is that something that I could get these postcards and say, put them in the shopping bags? I mean, is this something that we want to do? Not just have somebody in person, but do something like that? And the LC Store Center, I mean, has anybody approached them as far as having somebody there in person, or asking them if they would be able to hand out a type of survey to seniors that go to that center regularly?
Yeah, definitely, Roz. I think those would be things that we would be interested in one way or another. I think the next thing that we will be doing, I'll be sharing something with you guys in a second. We'll have a sheet where we've had other contacts that the VAC has mentioned that they would be willing to reach out to. I think this was created back when you guys were doing the snapshot survey in August, September. And we will just kind of be going back through that list, saying, are we still able to reach out to those folks? Are there other organizations like your connections, Roz, that may be worthwhile to be able to reach out? And then what kind of strategy do we want to pursue? Do we need to be getting people the postcard with the link? Do we need to be getting people paper surveys, which is a harder thing to do, admittedly, because then you have to figure out how to get them back. But are there places that it would make sense to be doing that? Is it something as simple as sharing a web link? And one thing that we've heard from a lot of our, from Marina, our wonderful consultant Marina, was that we want to be getting into Facebook groups and social media groups wherever we possibly can, and whatever connections that we have through there, because those are the places that people are conversing and talking in the city of Beaverton. And so so we'll do a little exercise here in a second, Roz, and you can list out some of those other places that you'd like to do.
If there's no other questions, I had a question about what what you wanted the VAC members to do for those presentations. What does it mean to present that we're doing the vision? How much are we supposed to say, etc.?
Yeah. So what I've been telling a lot of these committees is that it won't be too much of I'm trying to make it as easy as possible. So 10 to 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, could even be 5 minutes. It's very loose. I told them we don't need a lot of time. What we need we need to be able to send a VAC member to those committees, tell people that the visioning is happening, that they can get involved via surveys, they can get involved by doing interviews, or they can get involved by helping spread the word about the survey. And I can pre-package presentations for folks if that's what you want. I can either give you an actual PowerPoint, or I can give you just talking points that you'd like to be able to work through. And so that would pretty much be the role in a lot of those committees if you would choose to be a part of those. And I would really love it if you guys would, because I think that really shows that we've got firm support and we've got community support for this vision.
Yeah, and I saw some nodding heads for the presentation or other materials to have, so. And Rachel's saying, for me, one of the most compelling reasons to do the survey is that it affects the city time and where money goes, and we should definitely be sure to mention the survey and the presentation, or mention that it affects where money goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think there's a quick and dirty that you can do that's like, we're doing the vision. Here's why the vision matters. Here's some of the things that the vision's done. Here's how you can get involved. If you can do those 4 things, you get in and out. There may be a couple groups that may want to figure out if there's a larger way that they can get involved. It's like if you're talking to, say, the Council on Aging or something like that, and they say, we really want to have a senior focus group or something like that, then we have to be open to that kind of conversation. And I think for a lot of these, how these presentations would work is I would go with you, so you wouldn't be just left alone. So if there's other questions, then we can work on that. Unless you feel very confident and you want to just take it yourself, then I'm happy to give it to you. Okay.
Anybody else have more questions? I'm curious if there's a way that we're able to bring in more volunteers to do some of the shifts and things that you've mentioned in here, because I don't know, it's a big pull to get 2 of us at every Saturday and to go to the focus groups. And so I'm just curious if that's a possibility. It's a thumbs up from Rachel.
I will share the presentation, Allison. Yeah, I would say we should brainstorm that a little bit. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I think from the outset, we will set reasonable expectations. I'm going to go ahead and say we will not be at every single farmer's market from now until May, more than likely. I don't think we have the manpower to do that. But if people have any great ideas as to, what are other groups that we can get involved in, I'm all ears.
Could we ask the boards and commission people that we present to if they're interested in volunteering to give out surveys in some way and mention the slots for volunteer opportunities, or do they need specialized training to do that? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think there's any specialized training. I think it's just you mostly sit. And as long as we have one VAC member there, that should be enough to.
Rachel raised her hand too.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I can reach out to like our NAC and see if there would be interest in volunteering, because I know one of the things that we're trying to do more this year is outreach, and as a NAC, like we have an interest in making sure like Central Beaverton people take the survey. So I bet I could possibly round up a few people to help out at farmers market if that's something the committee is open to.
I like that idea. I have a question. So if we're tabling, if we're tabling at the farmer's market, we had talked a little bit about having kind of a board that people could add ideas to, like the sticky note exercises. So was that one of those things that we would be talking about, because that having something visual that people can put their stamp on or put their, put their fingerprints on, tends to bring people over to at least like, what's happening over here? Like, I don't want to miss out. Like there's that whole, I don't want to miss out on something cool. And so can we do something visual and kind of a fun activity that's still getting some input from the community? We had talked about how we could get people to engage in any possible way.
Definitely. So currently what we have is we have 3 boards that we can put Post-it notes on. And Shannon, you'll have to remind me what the exact questions are. Apparently you all decided on these questions, I think last summer or something like that, that you wanted to have these boards. But we had a nice conversation with Marina about tabling and outreach. Or at least I and a couple people from the city had a nice conversation with Marina. And they suggested that we do something like that. We make sure that when we're tabling, we have some type of food or snack to be able to attract people to the thing. Have interactive things. Shannon had mentioned that there are a couple, there's like, what are the things that we have, Shannon? We have a wheel and we have a Plinko board.
We have a Plinko board and we have, it kind of looks like a Wheel of Fortune wheel, but it stands upright and it's dry erase, so you can write whatever you want on the many different things and spin it around. People usually use it for like raffles or giveaway, and whatever you land on, you give away, but it can be used in any way you want. So those are some fun things. We also have like giant Jenga and cornhole. I mean, I don't know how we would use it. We haven't.
So I was also thinking there's a lot of surveying going on right now, and we've been hearing a lot about potential survey fatigue, that if you hear anyone say that, maybe we have some messaging about that this is building on the other surveys, that all of this is kind of related to each other. But these are, very tailored questions, or just something in case that comes up, because there has been a lot of that going on right now. And then the other thing I just got a visual of when we were talking about potential games or activities was one of those thermometer visuals, like maybe hitting a goal of how many responses that we're hoping to get, so people can see, wow, look how many people have already taken it. They can take it. I can have time to take it, or just wanting to be a part of helping to reach a goal. That might be kind of a fun thing that could prompt people into taking it too.
Yeah, I feel like we can design some really fun stuff. Another thing Marina had suggested is like we have a map of the city and have everybody put a pin where they live within the city when we're at the farmer's market or something like that, which is a great way to be able to collect data both on like the number of people that you have contact with at the farmer's market. It's great to know where people are coming from across the city. And yeah, then you're able to connect that to the other kinds of questions. And beyond that, when we have tablings, I think we can figure out 1 or 2 questions that we can ask people that are like big picture. What is your vision for the city? Where do you want to see the city in 10 years? What would you change about the city if you could? Mostly positive. Change might be a little bit too negative. You like to keep those things positive because you don't want to end up getting in an argument or anything with somebody else. But making sure that you have something that you're able to collect data with, and we can build out what that looks like. So I think we can come back, table this conversation, and come back to it in a second. I think what I would like to do, Shannon told me not to do this, but I think this is going to be a boring part. Prepare to be not excited, but I'm going to share a spreadsheet, an interactive spreadsheet that we're going to kind of look across the folks that we said we would be able to reach out to, kind of just double check to see if those are still possible, if there's other groups that we would like to be talking to, that kind of fun stuff. So 1 second, I'll send it all to you. And I apologize for everybody who doesn't enjoy using online links. Okay. Okay, so the link is in the chat. And we'll start on that first tab. Which has a list of, if you look at it, the first far left is the organization or contact that we've said that we want to reach out to. Brian has a lot of people mentioned, listed here. Write your name next to the person that you would like to add. If there's a group here that your name is by and you don't think you can add them, please delete them. Then if you can clarify in column C, who this person is or who this group is, if it's a person, if it's an organization, if it's an online group, if it's some kind of event that you're aware of, or if it's a media source that we should be aware of, then go ahead and just, you can use the drop down to choose what that is. And then you should put in as well how you would like to do outreach to them. And you have two opportunities here if you think that you're going to be doing multiple things. It may start out that you're just going to, I just did email, but that should also be email or phone call. If you're going to be doing outreach like that to start out, if you're going to be doing some kind of in-person outreach with these folks. And we'll eventually be using this just to kind of keep us on track to see who has done outreach with whom. And what follow-up is necessary.
So Nathan, I noticed that some of the groups that I had on my list previously, they're now part of your groups. So like the Leadership Beaverton Alumni Association and the Beaverton Area Chamber of Commerce were two that I had reached out to. So those were, that's why those were taken off.
Yeah, sorry to steal those from you, Christina. Yeah, the idea I think is that we have, the city will do some groups, Ping will be responsible for some groups, and then we'll have VAC members responsible for other groups. I think the goal is we just don't want to, we want to keep track of how much we're contacting folks and making sure that we're not over contacting folks.
Nathan, I have the same question. I think I was supposed to contact few groups. I don't see my name in here anymore.
Yeah, I think the groups that you had were a lot of the, I think you had the Muslim Educational Trust and ERCO, if I remember right, were on there. And those were both groups that our consultant is going to have the first point of contact with.
Yeah, I think I have about 4 or 5 of them.
Okay. And we'll circle back, Cameron. I know those were contacts for you. If it makes sense for us to do a second round of outreach, we'll have you do that as well. So.
Or maybe it could be when they're doing the focus group with that group, that would be like when they're doing one for the Beaverton Area Chamber of Commerce, I'd be happy to go and represent there. And maybe Cameron, you could go when they're doing it with the Muslim Education Trust, if Ping's doing a focus group with that group. So we could be those committee members that are there to also answer questions.
No, that's a very good point, but my biggest time constraint is that until April 15th, my schedule is very limited, so I may not be able to go and do things when Peng is doing. So
yeah,
after April 15th, I would be much more flexible. Until April 15th, I am not.
I think she is going to, she won't have a lot of these focus groups scheduled until April at the earliest. So there's a good chance that it won't get scheduled until after.
No, it's okay. I mean, you know, she is more experienced. She is expert. Yeah. So I would be glad that she can take her. Goal is to get the job done.
But we would love to, if say like there is going to be a certain focus group that it makes sense for, I think by next meeting, we'll have the dates of those focus groups. And we'll do a similar kind of practice, but this very not exciting practice.
And also after in May, anything you need me to be involved more, I will be available.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds fantastic, Cameron.
Thank you.
I know right now there's a lot of people that are going to be very busy over these couple months. And so we want to be cognizant of all your time. But if there's opportunities for you to get involved, it's great. So, all right. If there are other organizations down below that you would like to list, in fact, Roz, I'm just going to ask you, what were some of the groups that you had said?
Well, I was talking about Store to Door, where I volunteer, and they buy and deliver groceries to seniors all through Beaverton. And there are probably 200 to 300 clients perhaps that we could be putting, postcards in their shopping bags, and they can fill them out. And when we deliver groceries, you can pick them up the next day, or they'll go online to fill it out, but to get information to them. And then Elsie Stir, I guess, is part of THD. I have an HOA that has 700 homes in it.
What's the name of your HOA, Roz?
It's the Murray Hill HOA, it's the, so, and I've lived in this HOA for 20 years. So I could reach out to them and ask if they would like to have a presentation, or if they'd be willing to send a postcard out to people, or somehow get an email out to people. I mean, we have community management that sends out all the information for the HOA meetings and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow I could get in there and say, can we do this? That's
So
all I'm saying.
Roz, can I guess, would it be possible if we gave you language for an email, would you be willing to forward that on to someone from Store to Door and someone from the Murray Hill HOA?
Yes.
Okay. So one thing that I should add, when we are posting things on social media, when we are emailing folks, I will provide a script for emails, and our marketing person has requested that you just take from the city's Facebook page or social media pages, because we want to make sure our language is just consistent across the board. So I will be sending tomorrow, I'll send you all an email script, and I'll ask that you not send anything until at least Friday. But we're just making sure, want to make sure that everything is consistent, that we have the same messaging, and we'll have information on there that if they have further questions, they can reach out to myself or someone within the city.
Yeah, if you send me some kind of an email like that, I have no problem at all sending it out saying, can we do this? Can you send it out? Would you be willing to? Da, 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 da. I mean, yes.
Great. All right. So it looks like we've kind of gone through this. Feel free over time to add more organizations. Shannon is probably going to be mad at me because we're not sure how this fits within public meeting law, since we can technically communicate through this, but we'll probably hopefully be fine. And then if you want to go to the next tab to the right, there is a tab called Participation in Events. And Shannon, you said I had a couple dates wrong, so if you could help me kind of pick those out. But this has a list of all of the events that we have spoken to be able to be a part of in one way or another.
Yep.
If you are interested in participating in some of these, be mindful of your own time. Don't overcommit yourself, but see if there are dates and times that you think might work for you. And mind you, we don't have everyone here, so there might, if something doesn't get filled, we can fill it later.
So you have 2 dates for the volunteer fair, and Shannon said it was really June 11th.
Yes, so I need to fix that down there. Some of these
right now.
Okay. I would try to hold at least 2 slots for the farmers markets per day, and then 3 slots for some of these larger events, like the bubble tea walk. Really, I think what I would like to concentrate on, I don't know what, for me, it's hard to schedule things several months out in advance. And I'm sure for some of you that's the same. So if you want to focus on March and early April, because I think we will come back to this at our next meeting.
And Nathan wasn't totally wrong on the dates. We had 2 dates for those 2 events, and he just picked the one we didn't pick. So,
No, that's not right. Where did that go? Wait a minute.
For Beaverton Farmers Market, how long a shift did you say that is or would be?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that kind of comes to the discernment. How long does the farmer's market last for,
so
Shannon?
you have to be done setting up by 8. So we ask the people to arrive around 7:30, 7:45. You have to stay through the entire farmer's market, which ends at 1:30. So it usually takes 15 minutes or so to break down. You can split your shift with somebody, so you don't necessarily have to stay the whole time. It just, the booth itself needs to have somebody at it the whole time.
So we can
Got it.
start putting our names in, right?
Yes, please do.
I see things moving around, so my name was there and it's gone.
And is
Those
that
Sure, Roz.
winter hours or is that summer hours, Shannon?
Those are summer hours. I was just going to their site to find the
Because
winter
I was gonna say I think they open at 10 right now, but
Yeah, they do have less hours in the winter. Yes, so February through March is 10 a.m. to 1:30. So you would want to get there at like 9:30.
okay.
Oh, okay. So what's the time again? 9:30 to?
9:30 to 1:30. So I would plan on like just 9:30 to 2, but it probably won't actually be that long.
Is somebody working on this? Because the spreadsheet has just, I'm trying to do signups and I don't see the events anymore.
Are you scrolled over?
I had my name in for June 11th and it keeps disappearing. June 11th.
I don't
Roz,
see anyone's names going in actually.
really? There you go. I just put Roz, June 11th.
Yeah, is anyone able to put their names in right now? I don't know why this one wouldn't be editing. Test. Someone just wrote test and that seemed to work.
Nope. It's not working for me.
Roz, do you want me to try putting it in for you? Which one did you want to sign up
Yeah,
for?
because I did it twice. I put Roz for June 11th as a participant. That's in column E. And when I did that, it moved it all the way up to one of the farmers markets that I can't make. So.
Do you see it now?
You see it?
Does that look right?
Roz, volunteer fair. I keep seeing red squares. Now, if I go up, nope, it moves it. It's crazy.
Roz, somebody wrote your name in. Can you see it there? That somebody else wrote?
I wrote Roz, June 11th.
Okay.
Who's E40?
I tried putting in your name in E44 so that it would be there. Is that the right time that you wanted to sign up for?
Well, there's no time that I can see. It just says, and I'm being honest, it says volunteer fair, June 11th. I see Roz, and then I see anonymous Camel, and then I see E44. What am I doing that's not right if I'm putting in Roz?
Which box are you putting Roz in right now, Roz?
Under E,
E44 or E45?
I put it into E44.
I see it there.
Okay, so if I scroll up, it disappears.
You scroll.
I want to do one of the farmers market as well.
It's still there, Roz. It's still on E44.
Yeah, your name stays there all this time.
Fun of technology. Okay. So I will leave you all to sign up for that. I think we can do sign up as well in our own time. So keep considering your schedule. If you Rachel, I saw in the comments that you had another organization that you would be able to do outreach with. If you think of other organizations, please put those on the other tab. We'll send this out to the whole group and see other kinds of organizations they're a part of. And be creative. If you think of, heck, I think we heard Discord communities and Facebook groups would be fair game to be able to get the word out. So if any of you are gamers and want to get on Discord and get information out that way, please do that. Other than that,
So Nathan, I do have a question.
yes.
For these tabling events, is one person at a time, or there are two of them?
So I think what we would try to do is at least have 2 people per day, and then have those 2 people figure out if they wanted to just be at the booth by themselves for part of the time, and then the other person take another shift later in the day, or if both people would be there the entirety of the day.
Because
I think, yes.
last time when we did this survey, I was part of the WAG group at that time. We scheduled 2 people each time for each tabling event. For each time, there were 2 at the same time.
Okay.
So, you know.
Yeah, I think that's best practice if you have 2 people there, so that way you can always have an extra set of hands. And so I guess, did that work out pretty well then with 2 people?
It was great, really helpful.
Okay.
Because one person is engaging in the conversation, or one person is talking to one person, then there are more than one people showing up, then you have, otherwise there's nobody to talk, and you will be rotating around, and you will be making your conversation shorter as well with any specific person. I think 2 would be a good idea. And I also suggest that instead of, when there are 4-hour slot, maybe if somebody wants to sign up for 3 or 4 people, let's sign up for that slot for 4 people, and then they can work through it. Okay, which 2 people would be there for 2 hours or 3 hours, and who will replace them?
So I'm getting a lot of comments right now.
This is nuts.
Yeah, why is it doing that? That's odd.
Especially the tabling events would be helpful.
Yeah, it's better to have multiple people there to be able to someone doing the game, someone doing questioning or something along
Exactly.
those
That's
lines.
a good.
I think
Also
that's,
presentation.
yeah. So we could start, I think what maybe would be a good way to do this is to have a more formal conversation around, I mean, we can talk a little bit about it now. Currently, what if we did tabling, say if we tried to do it at 312 at the farmer's market, what that would look like is we would have those 4 posters, and we would be just putting down Post-it notes on those posters. And I'm not opposed to that at all. But I think we can do more and have it be more fun and interactive. And so I think it's hard to do this when we're all doing this remotely, because I like a lot of the game ideas that we have. We have like Shannon said, we have the Wheel of Fortune, we have the Plinko. I think if we have things like that, that is attractive in a way, and as long as we have some kind of visual and a way to collect information, that's a good way to start out. And then we can redesign as we'd like to. So I think whenever we get a group of people who are interested in doing a full day at the farmer's market, I'll bring all of the stuff, and we can work together to be able to see what exactly a tabling looks like. So if you're interested in attending on 312, then please sign up for that. Unfortunately, I would not be able to join on 319.
I have a really quick question. Do we know what time Arts Commission would have us on their agenda?
Yeah, sorry, Rachel. I was trying to respond to your
Oh,
question
no
in the
worries.
chat. Yeah, I don't know. I believe it's early. I will get,
Okay.
if you put your name down, I will get you the agenda as soon as possible. And if it ends up that we can't do that, then I can just present myself.
Okay,
So,
awesome. I will put my
um,
name down and just caveat that. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
awesome. Thanks.
most boards and commissions are able to be flexible with public guests and stuff who go to their meetings, so they can probably adjust to your time.
Okay. So Amanda, you'll be joining for the NAC leadership meeting. Thank you for agreeing to do that. I guess, is this Amanda H or is this Amanda C? Sorry, Amanda. All right. And for those days, if you would like, I'm very open and willing to have a conversation with you before we go present to Rachel and Amanda, whomever else is signing up for committee presentations. Christina and Amy, I see you're down there now. Happy to have a little talk through, just kind of give you the, I'll email you all the talking points, but if you have any concerns, then I'm willing to chat through. This is great though, we're getting some signups. I know the farmers market is a big commitment. And so I think a thing that we should be figuring out is, are there other committees that would be able to help us out, either by tabling with us or can at least point in the way of someone who can sit there with us. And if you have, you know, if you have kids, if you have someone else who you think would be able to donate some time, then we can work on that. That would be fantastic.
I have a question about that for volunteering. I'm curious if maybe we want to organize some sort of virtual volunteer event that we could promote to get people to sign up, and then they can come to that. So they would then be able to sign up for these shifts and at the farmers market and other things like that. I don't know if it's strictly necessary, but it might be a way to organize and bring in more volunteers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not opposed to that idea. If we can get something, we have to get it moving quickly-ish. Yeah, I'd be curious. Does anyone else kind of have any feelings on something like that? I think any way that we can get people through the door is a good way, or something good.
It's just a sign up form and an email with instructions afterwards. I mean, just something.
Yeah.
So that we actually have a way to funnel people into this work, I think would be helpful. But other ideas, does anybody have anything about this?
I think there's definitely
Rachel
ahead.
suggested something about reaching out to the local neighborhood associations. That might be a great place to start, to reach out to all of the NACs, not just the Central Beaverton NAC, but see if they have people who are interested in helping us with tabling opportunities.
And then Nathan, from there, if there were people that were interested, would they contact you and then you can get them on the spreadsheet, or we share the spreadsheet, or do we not need to decide that now about how to get people plugged in?
No, I think that is a good thing to get figured out, Amy. Sorry to interrupt you. I would say what we could do is, I don't think we share the spreadsheet, but I think if you have somebody who is interested, and maybe we can have this included within the language of the emails and social media that we're sending out, then you can forward them to me saying that they want to be a volunteer, and then I can put them into, I can either give them a schedule of events that they can sign up for, or yeah, we can do something along those lines to be able to get someone involved. I mean, with volunteers, there's always a little bit of a gray area, or with like liability and whatnot, that you have to be somewhat cautious of. But I would think for a lot of this, it would be not that big a deal. Does the city have a tent for a table at the market? That's a great Shannon question.
Yes, they do. So we have a tent that's actually stored at the market so that you don't have to try and pull that back and forth with you. Then we have a table, 2 chairs, a City of Beaverton tablecloth, and all other stuff that you need at the City Hall. So you may be asked to stop by City Hall and pick those up, or if Nathan's there, he'll bring them or whatever. But yeah, we do have all of that stuff.
Another thing that I will add is if you are going to be doing outreach with an organization, or you just want to be able to do more outreach, we're going to have a lot of flyers and handouts available. So if Roz, you're going to your HOA, you're going to store to door, whatnot, you need some kind of thing printed, please email me and let me know that you need it. If you have an estimation of the number that you need printed, that's even better. Otherwise, we can try to work with you to figure out how much you'll need. If you need something in a particular language, that's another thing. We will have translations of a lot of the materials. So please don't hesitate to reach out as you go and do your outreach. I imagine a lot of you guys are probably the online, like emailing or phone calls is the good place to start for March. And then hopefully those conversations lead to more in-person stuff. It seems like our calendar is already filling up though, but if we have more in-person stuff, then we can try to fit those in and hopefully have more volunteers to be able to move things forward.
Okay.
So yeah, so please feel free to continue editing the spreadsheet. It's not a very pretty doc, but it at least can kind of give us some organization. But I'm excited. I think we've got a lot of stuff planned. We've got a lot of good materials to move forward. And now we just got to go do it. So thank you guys for being here to help organize it.
Thank you.
Thanks. And will you be sending the links out this week for the sign up sheet that we just did? And you mentioned the emails and social media posts, and when should we expect to see those things in our inboxes?
I will be sending those out tomorrow. And then that should enable, if you want to do outreach again, we'll start doing all of our outreach on Friday. Things will go live on Friday.
Okay, and Amanda Clark, was your question answered? Will you, okay, great.
I pushed send right as you were starting to.
Great, well, that's so exciting that Friday, the survey link will be live. It feels a little unreal that it's like a launch for the VAC. I don't know if it feels the same for you guys, since I felt like, and it seemed like the group felt sometimes that we're in like a loop, not moving forward. So it's good. Does anybody have anything to share about tonight or how they feel about the VAC process, since it seems like we have about 3 more minutes in this action item, but we don't have any more outreach assignment action items to do. So does anybody have anything they want to say?
I just want to thank you for working with Ping and kind of nailing down those different focus groups and reaching out to some of those partners already and getting them excited about it and kind of getting the motivating people to join us in collecting this information. That was really exciting to see. So thank you for doing that, Nathan.
I know this is your time to talk, and I've been talking a lot tonight. But one thing I do want to say is, one, thank you guys all for trusting through this process and working through this process. The city priorities did come out for the city council like this past week, as Allison had mentioned, and the visioning is one of those core priorities. So I can't overpromise things here, but we will hopefully know by our next meeting whether or not we're getting more budget to be able to move into the summer and fall, and it does seem promising. And so I'm hoping that we will be able to live up to your expectations in terms of being able to do outreach, collect data, then go back out and work with the community to be able to create a plan over a little bit longer time frame. So don't want to get you too excited. Don't want to get myself too excited, but I think we're looking better that way.
Great. And I'm also really happy about the focus groups and being able to maybe ensure that some of that data is really highlighted in whatever we create, since we did want to focus on getting outreach from certain groups. And so we've done a nice job working with our consultants to get things set up around topics that we wanted and that we cared about. So thank you very much for that. So we're at the last 5 minutes. We've got actionable items, dates to remember. And as far as I recall, this is usually fairly open to anybody in the back who's got something to add at this point. So does anybody have actionable items, dates to remember that they'd like to just unmute and say? I'm curious if Cameron has any words of advice for us non-CPAs that are working on our taxes or just. You're muted.
He's muted. He's not giving it away for free.
Oh, no, it's.
Oh, no, I'm not asking for free advice, but
So,
just, you know.
First of all, the March 15th is the deadline for business tax filing. So if anybody who has like a S corporation, a lot of small businesses operate as an S corporation or partnership. So deadline is March 15th. If you don't file by March 15th, then please file an extension by that time. And the extension for federal is not the extension for Oregon. We have to file 2 separate extensions for businesses. If you don't file an extension, per owner, there's a $210 per month penalty that goes up to $10,000. So if there are 2 partners and running a business, so 2 partners means $420 per month penalty, and times 2 for federal and state. So
Wow.
it's very important that any businesses who are run as a S corporation, C corporation need to file an extension. And for the personal taxes, sometimes people don't have enough money and they say, oh God, I don't have enough funds to pay. I am so much behind. Please do file your taxes, because filing and paying are 2 different events and they're 2 separate penalties. Sometimes people don't realize. They say, oh, I don't have money, I didn't pay, I didn't file it. If there's a filing penalty is 5%, non-filing penalty is 5%, and non-paying penalty is 10%. So at least by filing, if you don't have money, don't pay, just at least file, you save the 5% penalty. And once you file and you cannot pay, after 1 week, you can call IRS or go online and request the payment plan. So then you can even stop that 10% penalty as well.
Wow.
Those are just few comments.
Really important advice.
Thank you.
Yeah. Does anybody have anything new and good they want to just share for the good of the group? Or... I'm excited about springtime. I've been noticing lots of buds opening up and flowers blooming. Seems like maybe the cherries and the plums are opening up this week. So it's nice.
Breath of fresh air, to have some green and have it smell like flowers outside. And COVID rates are down. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
got to be safe,
Yeah,
but
that's
they're
good.
down. So
That's good.
Yeah, that's definitely making me feel hopeful, and maybe I'll feel like I can do in-person events a little bit later. Yeah.
And I do have one more comment. I think is more timely comment, mostly for Roz and people who are connected to the older folks communities.
Mhm.
That sometimes those people don't file taxes. So even though they don't owe any taxes, please file your taxes,
Oh, yeah.
because if they have not gotten their $1,400 stimulus check, So by filing, they can get that $1,400.
Done.
Especially the community people who don't make enough money, they're not filing and they're losing that $1,400 per person.
Wow. Did not know that.
Yeah, so please file, whether you owe zero.
Filed, already have our returns. Already got our refunds.
Perfect, great.
Nice. So I just pulled out the tax documents this week and I'm not looking forward to it. So thanks. Well, we are at just about time unless anybody has a 1 minute or under comment they'd like to throw in.
Good job, Nathan.
Yeah. All right, well then let's adjourn for the evening. And Shannon, were we keeping the meeting open if people wanted to just sit around and talk, or was that the start the meeting early? I couldn't remember which we decided to do.
That is the start the meeting early thing.
Okay, cool. Well, next time you are invited next month to come early if you'd like to sit around and chat for 15 minutes. And thanks everyone for being here. See you
Thank
next
you.
month.
Yes.